colony ship Meridian's Hope had been humanity's greatest achievement, a vessel carrying 10,000 souls across the void toward a new home. When it splintered against the asteroid field in the Kepler 442 system, only 300 survivors made it to the emergency pods. Asha Ren had been among them. Now she lay trapped beneath a twisted mass of hull plating and support beams, her legs pinned, her ribs screaming with every shallow breath. The red dust of this alien world pressed against her visor, and somewhere above, she could hear the howling wind that never ceased on this desolate planet. She had been on a salvage run when the wreckage shifted. A stupid mistake. Overconfidence born of desperation. The colony needed supplies, and the scattered debris field was their only source. Now she would die here, alone. While her daughter waited back at the settlement, through the haze of pain, Asha heard something. Scratching. Scraping. At first she thought it was the wind moving debris. Then came a sound that froze her blood. A chirp. High-pitched, insistent, nothing human. The Krell cubs found her by accident. They had been hunting tunnel rats in the debris field when Corlin picked up the scent. Something alien, something warm, something alive. The young Krell was barely past his first molt, his scales still soft in places, his talons not yet hardened by adulthood. But his curiosity was stronger than caution. Strange smell, Corlin clicked to his clutch mates in the harmonic language of his people. Not prey, not Krell. 3 other cubs gathered around him, their crested heads tilting as they picked up the same scent. The Krell were apex predators on 17 worlds, reptilian hunters whose empire stretched across 2 spiral arms. They feared nothing, but they had never encountered humans before. Dig, Corlin decided, his talons already tearing at the debris. Asha felt the wreckage shift above her and bit back a scream. Something was up there. Something was making it worse. She tried to activate her comm, but the unit was dead, crushed against her chest plate. All she could do was wait and pray it would be quick. The first piece of debris lifted away, and afternoon light pierced the darkness of her tomb. Asha looked up through her cracked visor and saw her death staring back at her. The creature was magnificent and terrifying. 2 meters of scaled muscle, with an elongated snout filled with serrated teeth, and eyes that gleamed with predatory intelligence. Its talons, each as long as her finger, gripped the metal beam it had just moved. Asha had seen the xenology reports. The Krell, humanity's first contact with alien intelligence, and it had been anything but friendly. 3 human survey ships had vanished in Krell space. The diplomatic corps called them aggressively territorial. The military called them shoot on sight. The creature, the cub, she realized, noting its small size and softer scales, tilted its head and chirped at her. Then it went back to digging. Asha's mind reeled. It wasn't attacking. It was helping. More cubs appeared, their young faces curious rather than hostile. They worked with surprising coordination, lifting debris that would have taken construction equipment to move, their combined strength making quick work of the smaller pieces. But the main beam, the massive support strut pinning her legs, was too heavy even for them. Corlin circled the wreckage, clicking and chirping to his clutchmates. He could smell the trapped creature's pain, see the slow pooling of dark fluid beneath the metal. Time was running short. The beam had to be moved, but it would take adult Krell to lift something that heavy, adults who would kill the alien without hesitation. The young Krell made his decision. "We dig underneath," he commanded. "Make space. Pull it free." "Corlin, this is foolish," one of his clutchmates protested. "The elders said the aliens are dangerous. We should report this." "Report a corpse," Corlin's tail lashed. "No, we dig." For 3 hours the cubs dug. The red soil of their world was hard-packed and stubborn, filled with rock and ancient roots. Their talons, still soft from youth, began to split and bleed. The pale ichor that served as their blood mixed with the rust-colored dirt, but none of them stopped. Asha watched in amazement as these creatures, these supposed monsters, worked themselves to exhaustion for her. She tried to speak, to tell them to stop, to save themselves, but her calm was dead, and they wouldn't have understood anyway. Corlin's talons were ribbons of pain, each scrape against stone sending agony up his arms. His clutch mates were faring no better. But beneath the beam, a gap was forming. Slowly, impossibly, they were creating space. Now, Corlin finally chirped, lift together. When beam rises, pull alien free. 4 young Krell, none of them fully grown, strained against a piece of starship hull that weighed several tons. Their muscles trembled, their scales darkened with exertion, blood dripping from their ruined talons. The beam shifted, a centimeter, then 2. Corlin darted into the gap, his jaws closing gently around the strange creature's armored suit. He pulled, felt resistance, pulled harder. Something gave way, and suddenly the alien was sliding free, just as his clutch mates lost their grip and the beam crashed down behind them. They collapsed in a heap, 4 exhausted cubs and 1 broken human. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Asha began to laugh, a sound somewhere between joy and hysteria. Corlin cocked his head, studying the alien. It was making noise. Happy noise? Distressed noise? The young Krell couldn't tell, but it was alive. That was enough. When the human rescue team arrived an hour later, they found Asha Wren surrounded by 4 young Krell, none of whom would leave her side. The Marines raised their weapons, but Asha, her legs shattered, her suit compromised but alive, raised her hand. Stand down, she whispered into her borrowed comm. They saved me. First contact, it turned out, wasn't made by diplomats or warriors. It was made by children who saw someone in need and chose compassion over instinct. As Asha was carried away on a stretcher, she looked back at Corlin. The young Krell raised 1 bloodied talon in what might have been a wave. In the years that followed, when humans and Krell struggled to find common ground, ambassadors on both sides would remember the cubs who dug until their talons bled. They would remember that empathy needs no translation, and that courage comes in unexpected forms. But they would especially remember Corlin, who would grow to become the first Krell to learn human language, the first to walk freely in human cities, the first to call a human friend. It all began under the Wreckage, where a choice was made, not by governments or species, but by one young soul who refused to let another die alone.